Hi, welcome back to Westbury 101. I'm Brian Westbury, Chief Economist at First Trust Portfolios. Remember, we want to be the antidote to conventional wisdom. Well, on a purely partisan vote yesterday, Sunday, today's Monday, the House of Representatives passed an historic piece of health care legislation, literally creating universal health care in the United States. Republicans obviously did not vote for this, but they're not blameless. Remember, they put in a drug benefit when George Bush was president, moving the government more into the healthcare arena. They also passed TARP, which in a sense was an implicit belief that capitalism had failed, that Wall Street had failed, and that government had to save the system. And who's to blame Congress or the American voters who, some of them, supported the health care legislation if they're to say, well, hey, if Wall Street can be that bad and it needs government involved, why not health care? So literally, we have been moving in this direction for a long time. What's fascinating is that many conservatives, TV talk show hosts, radio personalities have literally been saying that if this were to pass, that the economy, I'm kind of paraphrasing, but would fall apart, turn to ashes, just crumble, that this would just be a massive change in America and that nothing would work the same again. I want to divide this statement, by the way, up into two categories, long-term and short-term. Now, obviously, in the short term, today, Monday, the stock market is up after the passage of this bill. That kind of goes against a lot of the things that we've heard, a lot of the scare tactics we've heard to fight against health care. But that doesn't mean that some of those comments weren't right. In the long run, we believe, as macroeconomists, in the long run, that this health care bill will lower the dynamism of the U.S. economy, undermine productivity and efficiency, raise unemployment, and slow the growth of economic activity. It is a very clear set of principles that we can talk about, that the bigger the government gets, the smaller the private sector gets. The smaller the private sector is, the less dynamic an economy is. You can see this clearly in continental Europe, Germany, France, Italy, Spain, many other countries that have national health care, very large governments. They have been less productive, have less productivity, and have higher unemployment than the United States, and that's been true for the last 3 or 4 decades. That is the future that we have in store for us. There's an added negative, if you will, and that is that the United States has been a driving force for world growth, and as we burden our economy with larger government and higher taxes, the world economy will pay a price for what has just transpired. However, and this is the key, our forecast of a V-shaped economic recovery in 2010, probably carrying into 2011, is still intact. We still believe that the Dow will reach 13,000 by the end of 2010, that it's undervalued today by about 40%, and that we're going to continue to see a dynamic, self-sustaining economic recovery. We expect 300,000 jobs, new jobs in the month of March. Some of those are going to be census workers, but underneath, the private gains in private payrolls are going to begin to increase. The unemployment rate will come down. We expect it to have an 8 handle, be somewhere between 8.5% and 9% by the end of 2010. And we expect GDP, real gross domestic product, to grow about 4.5% this year. Now, you say, how can this be? We've just passed this historic legislation. We're told every day that it's going to lead to the death of America and our way of life in the United States. The fact of the matter is that tax hikes don't come into play in this new bill. Now, we don't have the final version of the bill yet, but they don't come into play until 2013. The Cadillac tax evidently doesn't go into effect until 2018. There are many negative aspects of this bill that will affect the economy, but they come in slowly over the years ahead. If you were to play a baseball game and you knew that in 3 years they were going to change the rules and every home run was only going to be worth a half, you wouldn't change the way you played the game today. You would change it once that new rule went into being, but you wouldn't change the way you played the game right now. And that's what I'm suggesting to investors today. Don't change the way you're playing the game. I am very optimistic about the economic recovery over this year and into 2011, and with it, it will lift the economy strongly and the market as well. Now, one final point about this, and that is that the passage of this legislation, you can say it was kind of a mess. They changed the rules at the last minute. They voted on things. They almost deemed a bill to be passed. That this has led to a lot of anger amongst voters. And before those tax hikes in 2000 go into place, before they do, we still have two major elections in the United States, November of 2010 and then November of 2012, where we will vote for president again. The question is, how will those elections come out? We don't know, obviously, but they could come out with major victories for people who want smaller government and are mad about the encroachment of the government into our economy today. If that's the case, we could have much better laws come into being in the next 2 and 4 years than are the case or we might expect right now. So in effect, and remember, politics is often backwards. The passage of this bill could actually lead to better laws and a smaller government in the years ahead than we currently fear or expect after of the passage of this bill right now. Anyway, right now we have a new law of the land. It's universal health care. It will slow growth over the long run, but in the short run, I would argue that you need to stay the course. Thanks for visiting Westbury 101. Remember, we want to be the antidote to conventional wisdom. See you next time.